Hey, Paul. Welcome in, Night Dwellers. Hey, Julie. Hello in YouTube land. Welcome in, all my regulars. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome in. Hey, Kimmy. Hey, Julie. Hey, Mary. Hey, Pamela. Hello, Charlene. Hey, Palm. Hello, Chariot of Fire. Hello. Hey, X. Hello, Judy. I am good, Chariot. How are you? Hello, Tara. Hello, Kimberly. Hey, Kim. Hey, Nana Sherry. That does make a difference. It is. Tonight is going to be a tough one. Hey, Tabitha. Hey, Mandy. Karen. Hello, Amy. Let's share out the live. Let's share it to 5 friends, 10 friends, 15 friends. Tonight is a true crime case that I am just stunned about. And I cannot believe I've never covered this one. This is going to be a good one. Hello, Kelly. Let's start tapping. Tapping gets us out there. Writing today. Good guess, Paul. I was thinking about it, but there was another one that I was writing. I've been writing Cherry Hill in my brain all day, but I actually was sitting down typing today on Crimson Queen. Hey, AJ Cab. It was flowing quite nicely, I might add. Sorry you're sick, Mia. It's this brain. It never cuts off. I'm already working on another one in the back of my mind. I know. Crazy. Exactly. It just spins and spins and spins. Hello, Jim Rocks. This is the lovely, lovely gown that one of my night watchers, Leslie Marie, sent to me. And I just absolutely love this. This is one of my favorites for sure. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hey, Pink. Pastelina Pink in the house. Hello, Beverly, and welcome to Story Time. Hey, Martha Reagan. Believe it or not, it's still itchy. It's like, it's so itchy. I just try to keep my fingers off of it. Hey, Jess. Hello, Norma J. Thank you for the follow. Norma J, do you like scary stories? Tonight is True Crime Night, and tonight I am telling the story of JonBenet Ramsey. Hello, Judy Ballard. On clap. Yeah, why doesn't everyone let everyone know where you're from? We got a lot of Texans in the house. Hey Rose, how are you? Hey Siamese, come on in. We're at the 4-minute mark. Georgia, South Carolina here. West Virginia, New Hampshire, California, Michigan, Illinois, Powhatan, Virginia, Ohio, Illinois, Indiana, Pennsylvania, Texas. Oh, Jim, you're from Pennsylvania too. Minnesota, hey Zoe Ann. New Orleans, Louisiana. Rotting Savior, how are you, darling? Welcome in. Hey, boss man, welcome in. Florida, love Florida. Let's invite one friend that you think would like a scary story tonight. Do you have a true crime friend? Tell them about it. Hello, Rhonda. Hey, Slade. I love your name. Have you sent your daily heartbeat? You know, I think this is my favorite one. Hello, Melanie. Manassas Park, Virginia. Welcome in, Carol. Hello, Delia. One minute. Thank you for the corgi. I love it. Hello, Cheryl Phillips. Oh, great, Judy. What's your husband's name? I was just thinking about you the other night, rotting savior. Thinking about that unique, dynamic voice. Hello, Sandra Jefferson. How are you, Sandra? Hello, Debbie. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. I will have to look that up, Judy. I will get that information. I am good, Cassie. How are you? All right. Let's just let the day go. The Tuesday workday is behind us, and it's story time. You probably had your dinner, and now you're ready to relax. Thank you for sharing that time with me. Let the cares of the world just melt away and come into the night realm. I am Bryn Morgan, a horror author, and I am also a teller of every scary kind of story you can imagine. Paranormal, ghost, aliens, possession, true crime, serial unalivers, urban legends, Appalachian horror, lore, You name it, I do it. And tonight is True Crime Tuesday. And tonight we are exploring a case of John Benet Ramsey. Have you heard of it? I must admit, I had not listened to it quite as thoroughly as I did the past 2 days. And let me tell you, this story gives me chills. But first, let's enter story time the way we know how to do it here. Lower your lights. Lock your doors. Light a candle for ambiance. To chase away those shadows. Pull your curtains nice and tight. Wrap yourself in your warmest blanket to avoid the chills that are about to crawl up your spine. And let's begin. The first way that I want to start this story is by showing the victim. Most people have seen her picture. I want you to keep in mind that this is a 6-year-old girl. 6 years old. Beautiful. Years old. Here she is without all the makeup. Oops. Pay no attention to that. Years old. Now, we are ready for the story. This is the Night Realm. I am the Night's Queen. Welcome to the dark side of storytelling. It was in the pre-dawn darkness of December the 26th, 1996, while most of America slept off their Christmas celebrations, that a mother's scream would shatter the silence of an affluent Boulder neighborhood and echoed through the corridors of American consciousness for decades to come. What began as a frantic 911 call about a kidnapping would evolve into one of the most perplexing, controversial, and haunting murder cases in modern history. The victim, 6-year-old JonBenet Patricia Ramsey, a golden-haired beauty queen whose pageant smile had charmed audiences across Colorado. The scene, a sprawling mansion that held secrets as dark as its shadowed basement. The mystery, a web of evidence so contradictory, so bizarre, that it would divide investigators, captivate the media, and torment a family for over 25 years. This is not just the story of a murder. It is the chronicle of how a single family, in the space of just a few hours, was completely destroyed. It also is the chronicle of how a single crime can expose the fault lines in our justice system, reveal the savage appetite of media consumption, and demonstrate how wealth and privilege collide with suspicion and grief. It is the tale of a ransom note that reads like a movie dialogue. DNA evidence that points to a phantom and a family whose perfect facade crumbled under the weight of unthinkable tragedy and public accusation. Some cases are solved with a confession, others with undeniable evidence. But the JonBenet Ramsey case belongs to that rare category of mysteries that seem to grow more complex with each revelation, more haunting with each passing year. It reminds us that sometimes the most innocent faces can mask the most disturbing secrets, and that in the pursuit of truth, we may discover that some questions are destined to remain unanswered. Welcome to a case where nothing is as it seems, where every theory has its flaws, and where a little girl's death continues to demand justice from beyond the grave. Hey, Spitfire! Chapter 1, The Perfect Life, Shattered. December the 25th, 1996, was supposed to be a magical Christmas for the Ramsey family in Boulder, Colorado. John Ramsey was a successful businessman, and his wife Patsy was a former beauty queen who had created what appeared to be an idyllic life with their children Burke and John Bonet. 6-year-old Jean Bonet Patricia Ramsey was the crown jewel of their existence. A blonde, blue-eyed beauty who had already won numerous child beauty pageants, including Little Miss Colorado. The Ramseys lived in a sprawling Tudor-style mansion at 755 15th Street, a 7,000 square foot home in one of Boulder's most prestigious neighborhoods. John had built a successful computer distribution company, Access Graphics, which had recently reached over $1 billion in sale. Patsy, originally from West Virginia, had won the Miss West Virginia title in 1977 and brought her Southern charm and ambition to Colorado's social scene. That Christmas evening, the family attended a holiday party at the home of Fleet and Priscilla White, who were close friends and business associates. John Bonet was dressed in a black velvet dress with a white collar, charmed the guests as always with her small voice and 1,000-watt smile. The family returned home around 9:30 p.m., and by all accounts, it was a typical and wonderful end to a festive day. John Bonet was reportedly tired, her mom said, and fell asleep in the car on the way home. John carried her upstairs to bed, he said, still in her party clothes. But within hours, this picture-perfect family would be thrust into a nightmare that would haunt them and captivate the world for decades to come. The events that would unfold in the early morning hours of December the 26th would transform the Ramsey name from one associated with success and beauty into one forever linked to tragedy, mystery, and suspicion. Chapter 2, The Ransom Note. At 5:52 a.m. on December the 26th, 1996, 911 dispatch received a call from Patsy Ramsey. Her frantic voice crackled through the phone lines to Boulder's 911 dispatch center. And her words would become one of the most analyzed in criminal history. These were her words. 911, what's your emergency? Yes, we have a kidnapping. Hurry, please. When pressed for details, Patsy explained that her daughter was missing and that she had found a ransom note. The note itself would become one of the most controversial pieces of evidence in the case, sprawling across 3 pages of Patsy's own notepad, written with a felt-tip pen from the house. The ransom note was unlike anything investigators had seen before. It was unusually long, for a kidnapping note. 338 words to be exact, and contained peculiar phrases, references that would fuel speculation for years to come. The note read, "Mr. Ramsey, listen carefully, exclamation point. We have your daughter. She is safe and unharmed if you want her back. See her again. She will be well and alive." The writer claimed to represent a small foreign faction and demanded exactly $118,000 as a ransom. Coincidentally, almost the exact amount of John Ramsey's Christmas bonus that year. What made the note even more bizarre were its pop culture references and contradictions. The writer mentioned being familiar with law enforcement countermeasures and tactics, yet provided specific instructions that seemed almost amateurish. The note referenced movies like Dirty Harry and Speed, and contained phrases like, "Don't try to grow a brain, John," and signed off with "Victory!" exclamation point. SBTC. Initials that never have been definitively explained. The handwriting analysis would become a central focus of the investigation. While John Ramsey was quickly ruled out as the author, Patsy, JonBenét's mother, could not be eliminated. Multiple handwriting experts produced conflicting opinions over the years, with some pointing to similarities between Patsy's writing and the ransom note, while others completely disagreed. Perhaps most puzzling, though, was the note's length and location. Kidnapping experts noted that real ransom notes are typically brief and prepared in advance. That's what I thought too. This note appeared to have been written in the house, using materials from the house, suggesting the writer was comfortable and unhurried. Hardly typical behavior for someone who had just committed a kidnapping of a very wealthy young lady. Chapter 3, The Search and Discovery. Despite the ransom note's explicit warning not to call police, the Ramseys contacted authorities immediately. Boulder Police Detective Linda Arndt arrived at the scene around 8:10 a.m., followed by other officers. However, the initial response would later be criticized as inadequate for potential kidnapping case. First person, Linda. I knew about the Ramseys. Everyone in Boulder knew about the Ramseys. They were a wealthy, affluent family. When I got the call from dispatch that their daughter had been kidnapped, I was, I don't know. I think it was too early in the morning. But when I drove through the gates and pulled up at this massive estate, I could tell that something was wrong. Now, the first thing that I noticed was there was a lot of cars there. And I was wondering why at 8, 10 a.m. in the morning, if your daughter has just been kidnapped, why there is so many people there at the crime scene. When I walked in, Mr. and Mrs. Ramsey had their best friends with them. And there was another couple that was there. I didn't quite know what to think about that. And rather than treating the house as a crime scene and securing it immediately, we just, I don't know. I mean, Patsy was beside herself. John was too. And we just, we allowed friends and family members to come inside their home. I look back on that now and realize that it was a terrible mistake because we had no idea what was waiting in the basement. Not only did the police allow friends and family into this house, but the Reverend Roll Hoverstock arrived too, along with more family friends, Pleat and Priscilla White from the night before at the Christmas party, and John and Barbara Fernie. This decision would later prove crucial as it compromised potential evidence and created additional suspects who had access to the scene. First person, detective. I mean, when I got there, it was just me. Nobody else had arrived yet. I was essentially alone at the scene with multiple civilians. And we were just waiting. We were waiting on a kidnapper's promise call that would never come. They showed me the letter, they showed me what it said. And I asked them where they found it. And when they told me where they found it, I don't know. As the hours passed without any kind of contact from the supposed kidnappers, John Ramsey grew increasingly agitated. The ransom note had stated that they would call between 8 and 10 a.m., but by afternoon, no call had come. So we were sitting there by the phone, waiting for it to ring. And Miss Ramsey was beside herself. Her family, her friends were. And it was around 1:00 p.m. And I suggested that John Ramsey and Pleat White search the house from top to bottom to see if they could find anything unusual. It seemed like a smart decision at the time to me. But it wasn't, night dwellers, because this decision that the lieutenant made would be heavily criticized. And you can see why. As it allowed potential suspects to contaminate the crime scene. John and Pleat began their search in the basement. At approximately 1:05 p.m., John Ramsey opened the door to a small room that served as a wine cellar. And what he found there would forever change the trajectory of the case. I didn't even know this until I started researching it. John Benet's small 6-year-old body lay on the floor, covered with a white blanket, with duct tape over her mouth and a cord around her neck. In a decision that would haunt the investigation, when John saw his daughter, he immediately picked up her body and carried it upstairs. Basically, what he did was he destroyed crucial forensic evidence and contaminating the crime scene beyond repair. Now, I want to ask you this. We say, oh, we would never do that. We know that we wouldn't do that. But how do you know what you would do if you saw your child, your flesh and blood, laying on the floor, unalived? Would you just leave her there or him there and wait for the cops? Or would you pick up that child's body? No doubt he did destroy crucial forensic evidence, most absolutely. But Detective Linda Arndt, overwhelmed and outnumbered, could only watch as this potential kidnapping case, within just a matter of moments, transformed into a murder investigation in the most compromised of circumstances possible. I just think back on it, I don't know what I would do at that moment. I would hope that common sense would overrule, but as I am looking at a loved one, I don't know. What are your thoughts? Thank you so much. I would like to see some of these comments. I think I would pick up my child. Right. Exactly. Chapter 4. The autopsy reveals horrific details. The autopsy was performed by Dr. John Meyer on December the 27th, 1996. And it revealed the horrific truth about JonBenét's final hours. Thank you so much, Ginger Moon, for the money gun. The 6-year-old had suffered a massive skull fracture. Thank you, Kimmy. An 8.5-inch crack that had split her skull from right to left. The blow had been so severe that it had caused significant brain swelling and bleeding. However, the immediate cause of death was determined to be asphyxiation by strangulation. A garrote, a sophisticated ligature device made from cord and the handle of a paintbrush belonging to Patsy, had been tightened around JonBenét's neck. The medical examiner determined that she had likely been unconscious from the head blow when the strangulation occurred, meaning she may not have suffered. Thank you so much, Crystal. Thank you, Ginger Moon. If I missed any names, I'm so sorry. Meaning that she may not have suffered during the final moments of her life. I would hope and pray so. The autopsy also revealed something else very disturbing. I was shocked when I heard it. It revealed evidence of sexual assault on this 6-year-old girl. JonBenet had suffered vaginal injuries consistent with digital penetration, and her underwear contained traces of blood. Thank you, Tabitha. This discovery added another horrifying dimension to the case and raised questions about the motive for the crime. Dr. Meyer estimated that JonBenet had eaten pineapple. Now, this is very, very interesting to me. He estimated that JonBenet had eaten pineapple approximately 2 to 6 hours before her death. A detail that would become very significant because the Ramseys claimed that when they got home from the Christmas party, she went directly to bed. John carried her upstairs and she didn't eat anything. However, a bowl of pineapple was later found on the Ramsey's kitchen table with Burke's fingerprints on it. Now, just to remind you who Burke is, that was their son. The condition of JonBenet's body also provided clues about the timeline. Rigor mortis had set in, suggesting that she had been dead for several hours when she was found. The ligature marks and other evidence indicated that the garret had been constructed at the scene, not brought to the house by an intruder. Perhaps most puzzling were the staging elements discovered during the autopsy. The duct tape over JonBenet's mouth had little adhesive left on it, which tells me, and only a few of the hair stuck to it, which tells me that I'm thinking it was applied after her death. And that is also what the autopsy suggested. The bindings on her wrist were loose enough that she could have easily slipped out of them if she had been conscious and struggling. These details led investigators to theorize that someone had attempted to stage the scene to look like a kidnapping gone wrong, when in reality, JonBenet had been murdered in her own home, and she had never left the premises. Never left. Chapter 5, The Intruder Theory. From the beginning, the Ramsey family and their attorneys maintained that an intruder had broken into their home, murdered JonBenet, and attempted to cover up the crime scene with an elaborate staging. This theory, while questioned by many investigators, had some compelling evidence to support it. And here's the evidence. Physical evidence of a possible break-in was found in the basement. A window in the basement had been broken. Thank you, Ginger Moon. That was lovely. Thank you so much. Thank you, Rachel, for joining. And there was a suitcase positioned beneath it. John Ramsey claimed he had broken this window months earlier when he was locked out of the house. But he couldn't remember if the window was ever repaired or not. Investigators found a partial palm print on the wine cellar door, and it did not match any of the family members. And there were unidentified footprints in the basement. Perhaps most significant was the discovery of DNA. DNA evidence that didn't match any member of the Ramsey family. Mixed DNA samples found JonBenét's underwear and on her long johns contained genetic material from an unknown male. This DNA would later be entered into the FBI's combined DNA index system, CODIS, but has never produced a match. Lou Smith was a veteran detective brought in to work on the case, and he became a strong proponent of the intruder theory. Smith, who had solved numerous high-profile cases during his career, believed that the evidence pointed to an outsider. He noted that the basement window, while quite small, was large enough for a person to crawl through if they wanted to. He also pointed to a high-tech boot print found near JonBenét's body that didn't match any footwear owned by the Ramsey family. Thank you, Ginger Moon. Thank you for the galaxy. So there was a boot print that was found near JonBenét's body, and it did not match any member of the family. John, no one. Smith theorized that the intruder may have been someone who knew the family's routines and possibly had been in the house before. The person would have known about John's bonus amount, explaining the specific ransom demand, because that is exactly what his Christmas bonus was, and had been familiar with the layout of the house. This led to speculation about service workers, delivery personnel, or even someone from JonBenét's pageant world who might have developed an unhealthy obsession with her. The intruder theory also attempted to explain the ransom note's unusual characteristics. Supporters argued that the lengthy note could have been written by someone who was comfortable in the house and had plenty of time to spare. The movie references might have come from someone who observed the family's video collection or overheard conversation about films. However, critics of the intruder theory pointed out significant problems, and this was it. No clear evidence of forced entry was found elsewhere in the home, just that small window in the basement. The ransom note was written on Patsy's notepad with her pen, suggesting that the intruder had intimate knowledge of where to find these items in the house. And most puzzling of all, if this was a kidnapping, why was JonBenét's body left in the house? Let's stop at chapter 5 and take an intermission. And when we come back, I will continue reading the case of John Benet Ramsey. So what are you thinking about this case so far? Hello, yo, it's Sean. Thank you for the follow. Sean, do you like scary stories? Thank you, Mikey Knobs. Okay. I honestly, I think they made so many mistakes. Hey, Christy. I think they made so many mistakes at the beginning. Hey, Lisa. They contaminated the crime scene. It really, Becky, thank you for the follow, my love. Becky, do you like scary stories? Hello, BeachNut 975. I think there were so many mistakes at the beginning that I think it just messed everything up. I really, really do. Hello, Danny Christian. Hey, Rebecca Wolf. I'm sorry that you're feeling bad. Right, Tabitha. I don't think it was Burke either. And how old was he, by the way? Burke. I had that on my notes, but I don't. I have heard that theory. I have heard that the son did it and the parents protected him. I heard that he was a suspect. If you are brand new here, welcome to Twisted Tales Live. Hello, Steve. Hello, Jackie O'Connell. I believe they did. Jackie, but I cannot be 100% sure on that because I know that he was young. Yes, he was 9. But then I think back to Michael Myers when he killed his sister Judith. I'm kidding. That is fiction. But I'm just saying, what I had heard something about that Burke had some sort of a mental issue. I'm so glad, Jackie. So glad that you enjoy them. Hey, Peaches. How are you, darling? Hey, Evie. Yeah, so he was only 9 years old, but um, I don't know. Hey, Melissa. Becky, thank you for the heart me. They never have been able to figure it out. They never have. But I do remember when my mother was, I remember when my mother was paying attention to this case, and she was like, he did it. She did it. Like there was just so much evidence that was going around. And it was just like, the suspicion was passing from one person to the next person, to the next person, to the next person. Oh, Ginger Moon, thank you for that beautiful well. You know that's one of my favorites. It is. And right, yeah. Yeah, it was like it just kept moving from person to person to person. Because Patsy was strict with her. Yeah. It is one of those unsolved murders that I don't know will ever be solved. Thank you for the roses, Steve. Hey, legend. Well, I go back to the evidence of the assault on her. Who did that? Right, Yoichi Sean, I agree. Yeah. We'll start in about 3 minutes. Thank you, legend. Yes, I heard that theory too, that she was dressed up to look like a woman. And Becky, I covered the Black Dahlia back when I first started this live, which was almost a year ago. And I am getting ready to do it again. But this time it will be in a lot more detail, and I will give a full night to it. Oh, really, Justine? Now that is interesting. Oh, wow. Hello there, Raybab. The Black Dahlia is another one that is very hard to try to wrap my mind around, because there's so many different theories, encompassing that one as well. I started in November of last year, Spitfire. That is absolutely right. Hello, Raybab. How are you? We'll let everybody come back in and get gathered. Peaches, I am telling the true crime case of JonBenet Ramsey. That is what my mother believed. She believed that it was the son. She's like, it has nothing to do with how old that he was. He could have very well did it, but I don't know. Hey, Ashley B. I know in Spitfire you were. Teddy is waving. Hello, Teddy. Oh yeah, Justine. I will do it. I will do the Black Dahlia case for sure. It could have been. I know that she was the center of their world. It's just insane. About 2 more minutes and I'll continue. Yay! The gift gallery is all lit up. Yes, awesome. So good. Did you like them? I know. The problem with me, I'm doing good, Ashley B. The problem with me is, yes, I would order through Zelle, Lulu. Yes. I am such a perfectionist. I'm not only a perfectionist when it comes to stories, I'm a perfectionist when it comes to video making as well. And the content has to look a certain way. And I am picky about it. And I know Julie is picky about hers. And I think that's why they turn out so good. I almost started crying when I heard the music that Julie put on hers. In the Arms of an Angel, that is like one of the saddest songs. Thank you, Ginger. Thank you. All right. For those of you who are just coming in, this is True Crime Night on Twisted Tales Live. And tonight, I, your Night Queen, I'm telling the story of John Benet Ramsey. All right. And if you like scary stories, you will love this one. This is my first book that I published, The Haunting of Hastings House. My baby, my pride, and my joy. No matter how many books that I write, she will always be my first. And Sunday night was exciting because that was my first autograph signing night, and it was absolutely amazing. We have more. If you want one, hit X up. Let her know that you want one. She'll give you all the details. Also, I saw that we are nearing the 400 subscription mark on YouTube. Do you know how long that has taken? And do you know how many more that we need? YouTube does not make it easy. Thank you, YouTube. Much appreciated. We have to have 1,000 subscribers before we can even monetize and have super chats on there. I'm telling you, when we get on YouTube, we're going to blow up. So what I want you to do, if you love my stories and you love your Night Dweller family, consider going in my bio and clicking on that link. You don't even have to leave the page. Just click YouTube subscription, and guess what? It's free. Exactly. The content is free. The lives are free. If you haven't joined, let this be the night that you do. Let's push it over the 400 mark. Please. I think we're like at 391, I believe. So share it with friends, share it with family. Tell them, hey, can you please subscribe to the Night Queen so that she can make this story time go worldwide. 391. That's what I thought it was. So once we get over 400, I think we can just keep rolling. Keep rolling, keep rolling, keep rolling. Thank you so, so much. And for those of you who are new that are just coming in, you have entered the Night Realm. I am the Night Queen, and it is story time. All right, let's get back into story time, shall we? Lower your lights. Lock your doors. Is your candle still lit? Pull your curtains nice and tight. Wrap yourself in your warmest blanket to avoid the chills that are about to crawl up your spine. And let's begin. Chapter 6. Suspicion falls on the family. As the investigation progressed, Boulder police increasingly focused their attention on the Ramsey family themselves. The decision to consider the parents as suspects was driven by several factors that seemed inconsistent with a random intruder crime. The ransom note remained the most problematic piece of evidence for the intruder theory. Its length, the use of materials in the house, and its movie-like dialogue suggested someone with intimate access to the Ramsey home. The specific ransom amount matching John's bonus seemed too coincidental for a stranger to know. I agree with that. Patsy Ramsey's behavior on the morning of December the 6th also drew close scrutiny. Phone records showed that after calling 911, she immediately called her friends, the Whites and the Fernies, to come over. Despite the ransom note's explicit warning, about contacting anyone. Critics argued that this behavior was inconsistent with a mother who believed that her daughter had been kidnapped and might even be killed if she disobeyed the kidnapper's instructions. The 911 call itself became a subject of intense analysis. So listen to this. Some investigators believed they could hear voices in the background after Patsy thought she had hung up the phone. Enhanced audio analysis suggested possible words like, "What did you do?" and "Help me, Jesus. What did you do?" Potentially indicating that other family members were awake and involved in some kind of discussion about the situation. Burke Ramsey, we talked a little bit about him during the intermission. John Bonet's 9-year-old brother also became a focus of investigation. Initially, the family claimed that Burke had slept through the entire incident and knew nothing about what happened. However, enhanced audio from the 911 call seemed to include a child's voice, suggesting that Burke may have indeed been awake when his mother made the emergency call. The pineapple that was found in John Bonet's digestive system became another crucial piece of evidence pointing toward family involvement. A bowl of pineapple with milk was found on the kitchen table, and both Burke's and Patsy's fingerprints were on the bowl and the spoon. This suggested that John Bonet had eaten pineapple in her own kitchen after returning from the party, which contradicted the whole family's timeline of events. I would say so. Investigators also noted what they perceived as unusual behavior from John and Patsy Ramsey in the days following the murder. The couple hired high-profile attorneys almost immediately and were reluctant to submit to extensive police interviews. Now, I've got something on that. I would not take a polygraph. Absolutely would not, and I would not speak to anyone but my lawyer. So I think what they did was right there. When they did speak to police, however, it was months later, under controlled conditions, with their lawyers present. The theory that emerged among some investigators was that one of the family members had unalived John Bonet, either accidentally or in a fit of rage, and the others had helped cover up the crime with an elaborate staging designed to point toward an intruder. Chapter 7, Media Circus and the Public Opinion. The John Bonet Ramsey case quickly became a media sensation unlike any criminal case before it. It was the combination of a wealthy family, a beautiful child victim, and mysterious circumstances created a perfect storm for unprecedented media coverage that would completely transform how high-profile crimes were covered in America. Within days of John Bonet's murder, the case had captured national attention. The sight of a blonde, a 6-year-old beauty pageant contestant, became instantly recognizable to millions of Americans. Photographs and videos of John Bonet in full pageant regalia, complete with makeup, elaborate costumes, and adult-like poses, sparked a national debate about child beauty pageants and the sexualization of young children. The media coverage was relentless and often inflammatory. Television shows, newspapers, and magazines competed for the most sensational angles and exclusive interviews. The Ramseys' wealth and apparent privilege made them easy targets for public suspicion. Many Americans found it difficult to believe that an intruder would write such an elaborate ransom note, leading to widespread speculation about the family's guilt. Talk shows and true crime programs dissected every aspect of the case, others presenting speculation as fact. The ransom note was analyzed endlessly on television, with handwriting experts offering conflicting opinions about whether Patsy could have written it. John Bonet's pageant videos were played repeatedly, creating an uncomfortable spectacle that many viewers found disturbing. The Boulder Police Department, unaccustomed to handling such a high-profile case, struggled with the media attention. Information leaked regularly, often in ways that seemed to implicate the Ramsey family, and this led to accusations that police were trying the case in the media rather than building a solid legal case for prosecution. Police opinion polls consistently showed that a majority of Americans believed that the Ramsey family was involved in John Bonet's death. This perception was fueled by what many saw as the family's strange behavior, including their decision to hire lawyers immediately and their reluctance to cooperate fully with police investigations. The case also became a cultural touchstone for debates about wealth, privilege, and justice in America. Many people felt that the Ramseys were using their money and influence to avoid prosecution. What do you think? The family's ability to hire high-profile attorneys and public relations specialists contrasted sharply with typical criminal defendants, leading to accusations of a two-tiered justice system. It's itching so bad. The intense media coverage had serious consequences for the investigation itself. Potential witnesses were hesitant to come forward, fearing they would be thrust into the media spotlight. The constant speculation and leak of information made it difficult for investigators to separate facts from fiction and compromise their ability to conduct interviews effectively. The Ramsey family eventually moved away from Boulder, citing the intense media scrutiny and public hostility they faced. However, the media attention never truly subsided, and the case continued to generate headlines, books, documentaries, and television specialists for decades to come. I will. Thank you all for your concern. Chapter 8, False Confessions and Dead Ends. Over the years, the JonBenet Ramsey case attracted numerous false confessions and led investigators down countless dead ends. The high-profile nature of the case seemed to draw attention from disturbed individuals seeking nothing but notoriety, as well as legitimate leads that ultimately went nowhere, just fizzled out. The most famous false confession came in August 2006, when John Mark Carr was arrested in Thailand and claimed responsibility for JonBenet's murder. Carr was a former elementary school teacher with a history of inappropriate behavior around children, provided details about the crime that initially seemed credible to investigators. Carr claimed that he had been with JonBenet when she died, and that her death was an accident. He described being in love with her and painted a picture of a relationship that law enforcement found deeply disturbing. How can you be in love with a 6-year-old girl? I don't even want to think about that. His arrest generated massive media coverage, with many believing that the case had finally been solved after nearly 10 years. However, Carr's confession quickly fell apart under scrutiny. His DNA did not match the unknown male DNA found at the crime scene. Further investigation revealed that Carr had likely not even been in Colorado at the time of this murder. He was released without charges, and investigators concluded that he was a disturbed individual seeking attention rather than JonBenet's actual unaliver. The car accident highlighted the challenges investigators faced in sorting through the hundreds of tips, confessions, and leads that the case generated. The Boulder District Attorney's Office reported receiving over 1,500 leads in just the first year alone. 1,500 in the first year, with thousands more following in subsequent years. Other suspects investigated over the years included Gary Oliver, a convicted pedophile who had been in Boulder at the time of the murder and had allegedly confessed to a friend. However, his DNA also did not match the evidence. Michael Helgoth, a junkyard worker who committed suicide shortly after the murder. Some investigators found suspicious circumstances surrounding his death, but again, DNA evidence did not support his involvement. Various individuals connected to the child's beauty pageant circuit were investigated, as were service workers who had been in the Ramsey home, including housekeepers, delivery personnel, and contractors. The investigation also explored potential connections to other crimes, including the unsolved murder of another young girl in a nearby town. However, none of these leads produced concrete evidence linking anyone to JonBenet's murder. Each false lead and dead end not only consumed valuable investigative resources, but also kept the case in the public eye, generating more false tips and conspiracy theories. The high-profile nature of the case meant that every development, no matter how insignificant that it was, became national news. The numerous false confessions and failed leads also had a psychological impact on the investigation. Investigators became increasingly skeptical of new tips and potential suspects, possibly causing them to overlook legitimate evidence. At the same time, the continued failure to solve the case put enormous pressure on law enforcement to find answers, sometimes leading to premature announcements or arrest that ultimately proved embarrassing. Chapter 9: DNA Evidence and New Technologies. As forensic technology advanced in the years following JonBenét's murder, DNA evidence became increasingly central to the case. The unknown male DNA found at the crime scene remained the most compelling physical evidence pointing toward an intruder. And new testing methods continued to refine investigators' understanding of this crucial evidence. The original DNA analysis in 1997 had identified genetic material from an unknown male in JonBenét's underwear. The DNA was found mixed with her blood, suggesting that it was deposited around the time of her death rather than during manufacturing or previous wear. The amount of DNA was small, but sufficient for analysis using the technology available at the time. In 2003, investigators used more advanced testing methods to analyze additional evidence. DNA consistent with the original unknown profile was found on JonBenét's long johns, providing additional confirmation that the genetic material came from someone who had been in contact with her body, likely around the time of her unaliving. This discovery was significant because it made contamination during manufacturing much less likely. The presence of the same foreign DNA profile on two different pieces of clothing strongly suggested that it came from JonBenét's unaliver rather than from an innocent source. In 2008, the Boulder District Attorney's Office announced that new DNA testing had been performed on previously untested items of evidence. This touch DNA analysis could detect genetic material from skin cells left by simple contact, requiring much smaller samples than previous methods. The results of this testing further supported the intruder theory. The same unknown male DNA profile was found on multiple items of JonBenét's clothing, and investigators were able to rule out additional suspects based on DNA exclusions. Most significantly, the testing definitely excluded all members of the Ramsey family as sources of the unknown DNA. Based on these DNA findings, District Attorney Mary Lacey issued a formal apology to the Ramsey family in July 2008, stating that they were no longer considered suspects in their daughter's murder. The letter acknowledged that the DNA evidence supported the family's long-held belief that an intruder had entered their home on December the 25th and took their daughter's life. However, not everyone agreed with the interpretation of the DNA evidence. Some investigators and experts argued that the genetic material could have been transferred innocently through manufacturing processes or previous contact. They pointed out that the amount of DNA was very small and could have been deposited at any time, not necessarily during the murder. Critics also noted that the presence of unknown DNA didn't necessarily exonerate the family. It was possible that a family member had committed the murder while wearing gloves or had cleaned up the evidence, leaving only trace amounts of foreign DNA that had been deposited earlier. Despite these debates, the DNA evidence remained the strongest physical clue pointing toward JonBenet's unaliver. The genetic profile was entered into the FBI's CODIS database, where it could be compared against DNA from convicted offenders and evidence from other crimes. As of recent years, investigators have continued to pursue DNA leads using ever more sophisticated technology. Genetic genealogy, the technique that helps solve cases just as recent of the Golden State Killer, has been applied to the JonBenet case, though no definitive results have been announced publicly. Chapter 10, the case today and lingering questions. More than 25 years after JonBenet Ramsey's murder, the case remains officially unsolved. Though it continues to generate new developments, theories, and investigations, this murder has become one of America's most famous cold cases, inspiring countless books, documentaries, and television shows, while the search for answers continues. In recent years, the Boulder Police Department has maintained that the case remains an active investigation. They have stated that they continue to follow up on leads and utilize new forensic technologies as they become available. The department has tested over 1,500 pieces of evidence and interviewed more than 1,000 people in connection with this case. The advent of genetic genealogy has brought new hope to the investigation. This technique, which uses public genealogy databases to identify suspects through their relatives, have solved numerous cold cases in recent years. However, applying this technology to the JonBenet case presents unique challenges due to the degraded nature of the DNA evidence and the small amount of genetic material available. John Ramsey, now in his 80s, has continued to advocate for additional DNA testing and the use of new technologies. He has repeatedly called for evidence to be submitted to outside laboratories for independent analysis, believing that advances in forensic science might finally identify his daughter's unaliver. The case has also been the subject of renewed media attention, with several high-profile documentaries and television series examining the evidence. These productions have introduced the case to new generations of viewers, while often presenting competing theories about what happened that night, that cold December night in 1996. Several key questions continue to haunt the investigation. Who wrote the ransom note? Despite decades of analysis, the authorship remains disputed. While many experts have excluded John Ramsey, opinions remain divided about whether Patsy Ramsey could have written it. How did the killer know about John's bonus amount? The specific ransom demand of $118,000 nearly matched John's Christmas bonus to a T, suggests imminent knowledge of the family's finances. Why was John Benet's body left in the house? If this was truly a kidnapping, the failure to remove the victim from the premises remains unexplained. What happened during the approximately 6-hour window between the family's return from the Christmas party and Patty's 911 call? The timeline of events during this crucial period remains unclear. Who does the unknown DNA belong to? Despite being in databases for over a decade, the genetic profile has never produced a single match. The impact of the John Benet Ramsey case extends far beyond the search of just one child's unaliver. It fundamentally changed how America views high-profile criminal cases, demonstrating the power of media coverage to shape public opinion and potentially interfere with investigations. The case highlighted the intersection of wealth, privilege, and justice, while raising uncomfortable questions about child beauty pageants and the exploitation of young children. For the Ramsey family, the case has defined their lives for over 2 decades. Patsy Ramsey died of ovarian cancer in 2006, never seeing her daughter's killer brought to justice. John Ramsey has remarried and continues to seek answers. And Burke Ramsey has largely stayed out of the public eye, though he has given occasional interviews defending his family. The murder of John Benet Ramsey remains a tragedy that shocked America and continues to have us demanding for answers. Whether those answers will ever come, whether through advancing forensic technology, a deathbed confession, or the discovery of new evidence, remains to be seen. Until then, the case stands a reminder of how perfectly and how quickly a life can be shattered, and how some mysteries can endure long after the headlines fade. The little girl who once captivated audiences on beauty pageant stages has become a symbol of innocence lost and justice delayed. Her story continues to haunt those who seek the truth, ensuring that John Benet Ramsey will never be forgotten, even as the search for her unaliver continues into an uncertain future. Let's light a candle for John Bonet Ramsey tonight. In shadows cast by flickering light, I weave the tales that chill the night, where truth and terror intertwine, and innocent blood becomes the wine that feeds the hunger of the mind for mysteries dark and undefined. Each victim's voice calls out to me, their secrets whispered desperately. Through evidence and witness lies behind the mask and alibis. I follow threads both thin and deep, where justice lost begins to weep. The courtroom may have felt their plea, but in these words they'll always be. Forever young, forever true, John Bonet Ramsey, we remember you. Their stories told to me and you, the guilty run but cannot hide. The truth walks always by my side. So when this show ends tonight and darkness swallows light, remember those who met their end before their time without a friend. My stories burrow deep where they cannot flee. And it's in the darkest corridors of your nightmares that you belong. To me. You do. Pleasant dreams.